interested in jobs for $10 an hour, but you're wondering which career options are available that can be done from home which are actually paid well and therefore actually worth your while? In today's video, I'm going to share with you the 6 best paid jobs that you can do online, remotely, all of which you can make at least $10K a month or more with. So we are not talking about virtual assistants or completing surveys online or selling handmade items on Etsy where the pay and the profit is a pittance. Every job which I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to walk you through the important aspects of each role, like the skills and traits, which mean that you're going to be well suited to doing the job or not, what you need to do to get started, and any qualifications or courses that would be helpful, as well as we'll discuss how long it tends to take to get to 10K months. So without further ado, let's get into the jobs. First, a content creator, also known as an influencer or a blogger or a vlogger. This is actually exactly where I started with a travel blog way back in the day. How long does it take to learn this job and get started? For me, I binged every blog and podcast and resource out there that I could find online to learn about the field, and I also took a few courses on the business of blogging specifically, and overall it took me a few months to really piece together how to create content that people wanted to consume, and how to start earning a small income off of this. Skills and traits, which mean you're going to be well suited to being a content creator. Being a content creator is probably going to be a challenge for you if getting in front of the camera sounds like your nightmare. On the other hand, if you enjoy in your personal life taking photos or videos or telling stories or just sharing tips or how-to with friends and family, that is honestly kind of what this job is, just to a bit of a wider audience. I would also say it'll really help if you don't mind spending time alone doing this job. While a content creator may seem like a super social job from the outside, as a content creator, you obviously are known by a lot of people, you have your audience online, but the act of actually creating the content is a pretty solitary job. So being able to plonk yourself down and focus and create solo is kind of key for this. If you don't mind being in your own company and you love really focused work, then this job will actually suit you really well. So, what do you need to know to get started? There's clearly no degree to take to do this job. Content creators have the most random of backgrounds. I would definitely say binging a few podcasts for creators would be helpful, and maybe an online course or two from someone who has built a successful creator business, maybe in the industry that you're looking at, would also be helpful. And then the next question, how long does it take to get to 10K months? I learned the hard way that making money from content creation was a super long game. The way that most blogs are monetized is through brand deals or affiliate links or selling a product that you create yourself. Sometimes this is a digital product, sometimes this is a physical product, and in the travel blogging world specifically, selling group tours to your audience was also a monetization strategy. Now, all of those monetization options that I mentioned require a fair-sized audience, which is why I didn't personally continue pursuing this path. After I really got into it and then started tracking the statistics of how big my audience was and how much it was growing, I kind of came to the conclusion that content creation would take years until I got the following to the point where I'd have enough followers to make a proper full-time income off of this. So if you have the luxury of time to follow through and literally do years of unpaid work, then being a content creator can be incredible pay and really exponential growth down the line. I know content creators making way more than $10,000 a month. Ali Abdallah, for example, is making well over $100,000 a month at this point. Granted, he took years to build his following first and is probably one of the most successful creators out there. So don't think that he's average, but I do hope to show you with this example what is possible for a creator. The sky really is the limit, and as Ali shows, 10K months are extremely doable as a content creator, but again, remember, it is a long game of unpaid hours to build the following to make this possible, probably multiple years to get the audience to do the 10K months. And then from there, once you've built that audience, income really does take off with this kind of job. On to our second online job, a website designer. Now this is what I chose to do after I scrapped my travel blogging dream. As a travel blogger, I had built my own website and I loved redesigning the thing. So I figured instead of giving my own website a constant refresh and facelift every month, just because I found it fun, why don't I build websites for other people and earn an income from doing it? And I could earn an income from doing something that I loved just, for other people. Now, in terms of how hard it is to learn the job and get started, I'd say that being a website designer is easier than most people probably initially imagine. So being a web designer no longer requires you to learn how to code, which was always the scary bit that kept people like me from doing this job back in the day. Instead, these days, you really just need to get good at working with one specific website building platform like Squarespace or WordPress or Showit or Shopify, with dedication to tutorials and/or maybe an online course or two, or just even with trial and error yourself, you could easily learn to become pretty decent at one of the major website building platforms in a matter of a couple weeks or months. And if you're wondering, do I need a degree to become a website designer? Know that my degree is in recreation and leisure. I literally studied play for 6 years and I'm a website designer. So no, you don't need a degree these days. If you're anything like me, it's possible that you've actually been building the skill of learning how to build websites so far just from doing something else in your personal life or your work life or a hobby, and you've been doing it naturally and learning it without even really thinking about it. Now, skills and traits which mean you'll be well suited to this job. If you really find yourself loving visuals and beautiful products, then it's a sign that you're going to be well suited to this job. There was a sign early on that I would love this job because I had worked at a retail shop in high school and I was given the job to design and create the display window at the front of the store. I had an unbelievable amount of fun putting together a really creative, beautiful window display and placing all the items just right so that it looked incredible. And that's kind of the same with website design. Yes, you're doing the tech of it, which honestly, I believe anyone with a bit of time to learn and a decent level of tech abilities these days does have the potential to master. But your clients are also hiring you to create their online storefront, and it really looking fabulous and communicating the style of their business through the visuals of the site is kind of key. So an appreciation for aesthetics means you'll be really well suited to this. So what do you need to get started? What qualifications and courses are needed? Like most jobs I speak about today, there's no college degree which leads into this. Web designers don't study computer science anymore. They do, however, teach themselves by practicing or taking online courses. If you're watching this video right after it goes live, I also have something for you which will help you prepare to get into this job. I host my free Profitable and Productive Web Designer Bootcamp once or twice a year, and it's hosted live. I will pop the registration link for you above and below. Attend, and you can expect 3 days of educational training, Q&A sessions with designers who are super successful and fully booked out their web design businesses. We're going to be discussing the basics of setting up a web design business, finding clients, managing projects, and designing your processes and more. Plus, I'm also in the bootcamp doing the Ultimate Web Designer Starter Kit giveaway. Basically, all the softwares and contracts that you need to run a web design business. One lucky bootcamper will win that, and it's worth $1,000. Again, the event is live, so if you're watching this video soon after it's published, click below to register. If you're watching this video, however, way later after it's been published, then subscribe to the channel. I do share posts for my subscribers about future live events that I host, and I hope to see you at one of those. Bootcamp is always so incredible though. Last year we had 3,000 people join me for it. It was so much fun. So if there's still time, go register right now. It might just change your life. Okay, so how long does it typically take to get to 10K months as a web designer? Luckily for me, I noticed after I got into the web design industry that it's actually one of the best paid jobs online around. 3K to 6K per project is pretty standard for web design projects these days. And if you get into it for a few years and you start to really build a following and everything, doing 9K to 15K projects is also completely within the realm of reason. And I should say, those projects tend to take a few weeks on average, so again, pretty decent monthly income. And if you're wondering, is the market too saturated? Is there room for more web designers? I also actually did a survey of over 700 web designers, and 61% of them landed a paying client even before they officially launched their business. So clearly it's an incredibly in-demand service. But of course, to get to 10K months, it requires landing consistent clients and taking into account the web designers typically complete, I did 2 projects a month on average. You would need to command rates of $5,000 per project to reach those 10K months. And after chatting with a number of my students who have hit 10K months, it took most of them a full year, sometimes a bit more, to reach that 10K month. Third, an online business manager, aka an OBM. So a few years back, I was looking for someone to be able to manage the day-to-day of my business for me, so to manage my team and our projects and our launches and the admin and all the rest of the other stuff that comes with running a business, which I honestly didn't want to do. So I hunted for an OBM and interviewed probably like 15 of them. So if you're familiar with the corporate world, an OBM is kind of like the online equivalent of a project manager, or for bigger businesses, a chief operating officer. So how long will it take you to learn the job and get started? This job is often done by former virtual assistants. Granted, I don't think that's a necessary prerequisite to do the job, but I would often say that people VA for a couple years and then decide to get into being an OBM. Alternatively, if you have the right traits, which we'll talk about in a second, I think you could go straight into this role with training. I've seen a lot of people call themselves OBMs because they want higher pay than being a virtual assistant, but they don't at all understand what it actually means to do the job, and it's a bit of a black stain on the industry, I would say. I've heard of more than a few OBMs being let go because business owners realized they basically had a person with VA capabilities, but who was charging OBM prices. So I think an online course on being an OBM and what that means would be really key to success in the job. Like most online courses, it tends to take a few weeks to months to go through them and implement the homework before getting started. Next, let's discuss the skills and traits which mean you'll be well suited to the job, because this is super key for this role specifically. If you have color-coded schedules with your family, you plan the most insanely amazing schedules for trips, for example, and you just have a very strategic brain, and you maybe have some people skills, then you would be the perfect OBM. OBMs basically need to manage team and organize projects, so a mix of being really good at working with others and organizing and making project plans is super key. So if you are super on top of your work and your life and you love using a planner or a calendar and you enjoy working with humans, then you have the traits for this role. On the other hand, things always feel like they're falling through the cracks and balls are dropping and your life just feels like an absolute chaos. This would not be a good job for you. So what do you need to know to get started? Per usual, an online course helps. I'd even say maybe mandatory in my opinion for this role specifically. Again, a lot of VAs have tried taking on the title of OBM without knowing what it means to do the job or how to make the high-level decisions that are needed in the role. So to be successful and to have your clients love your work and for you to really take the work off of the business owner's plate, take a course on this one. Alternatively, you could maybe have a background in project management in the corporate world, and I feel like that's also the equivalent to sort of taking an online course for this. Also, be sure, read the book Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman and pay attention to everything that he says about what an integrator does, as that is basically an OBM. So in terms of how quickly or slowly it'll take to get to those 10K months, we first need to talk about typical OBM rates. So OBMs typically take on multiple clients at a time and they're on retainer. So they're hired by the business month in and month out, as opposed to doing just like one-off projects here or there. And OBMs charge typically like $40 to $68 an hour. Super keen. 40 hours a week, you'd make $6,700 a month, charging $40 per hour. Or you just break it to the 10K months if you were charging $60 an hour. Now, to get to the point where you're commanding $60 per hour, I'd say it'd be a couple of years of gaining experience to get there. Fourth, and our final one-to-one service provision option is ads managers. So that could be Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, Pinterest ads, TikTok ads, whatever platform is out there that runs ads, you can do that. Granted, I wouldn't recommend that you learn all of the things which I just listed. You need to really get good at the ads platform, and they're pretty different, so the learning curve will be a lot shorter if you just choose to learn one ads platform as opposed to all of them. Now, skills and traits which mean you're going to be well suited to this job. I would say the most important thing is having creative ideas. Ads are basically just pieces of marketing materials, and anyone can design a graphic in Canva these days or write some mediocre copy, but the ideas are really where the secret sauce of successful ads are. So you've got to be able to think up really fun, creative ideas, and a lot of them. A good touch of empathy and understanding are also key, as your ads need to speak to the pain points and the desires of your clients' potential clients. Now, I know that this isn't at all like a hard skill and maybe seems like a random skill set, which I'm saying for this one, but I truly believe that if you can brainstorm and think outside the box and zig when the rest of the industry zags, that's honestly key to being successful in this kind of role. Now, in terms of length of time to learn, I'd say this is pretty similar to web design. With dedication to online tutorials or maybe a course, you could easily learn to become pretty decent at ads management in a couple weeks or months. Of course, trial and error isn't quite as possible with this job, because that would require you to pour your own money into ads to do the learning. So I'd say either taking a course or doing a few clients for free while you learn with their money for the ads, or working in another ads agency where they look over your work and give feedback. I'd recommend that to learn. So what do you need to know to get started? What qualifications or courses would you need? Especially with this job, the industry is changing so quickly. Even if you studied marketing in college and got a degree in it, you'd still need to then go learn on the job the practical steps to use whatever the ad manager of your choice is. So I think, again, an online course or working in an agency, as this is kind of hard to do test projects because of the cost of running ads, is a really good way to get started in this job and learn. So to get to 10K months, I think you'd be looking at a few months of learning, maybe working in an ads agency where you'd make a portion of what the client pays just to really hone your skills with oversight, or doing a few clients for free and maybe using their money to learn while running the ads, and then potentially striking out on your own from that point. So I would probably say 1 to 2 years to get to those 10K months. Next, let's talk about 2 super scalable jobs. These 2 aren't one-to-one service provision like the past ones, but they're more passive style streams of income and jobs. So the 5th is selling digital templates. Think social media templates, website templates, PowerPoint slide templates, legal templates, calendar templates, all of those things fall under the templates category. So the skills and traits, which means you'll be well suited to the job. First is a design eye. You can spot stuff which looks fabulous and make beautiful designs. Second is loving creating creative work. If you find yourself loving designing slides on Canva or making websites on Squarespace, maybe you've been teaching yourself this without even really knowing you've been teaching yourself this, and you just have some sort of a passion and an interest for doing that, is really key to loving this. And third, a love for content creation. Now you might be thinking, but creating templates isn't the same as creating content, and you're totally right. But in order to sell these templates, you need a large audience. And that brings us back to content creation from the beginning. Doing focused work solo that we spoke about before is key to really being successful as a template creator. So what do you need to get started? What qualifications or courses would you need? So for this one, I think there's really 2 key ingredients. One, you bring to the table, or maybe you could take a course on it or improve at yourself over time, and that's learning to create the item or the template itself. So skills in Canva or a website builder or social media or whatever medium of template that you're going to be creating, being really fabulous at that. And then the second thing, which you can definitely take a course on, is selling digital products. Selling digital products is really its own total beast. Running launches and sales and putting together sales pages and marketing materials is a lot to learn, but thankfully that's definitely possible. You can learn that from others. So how long does it take to get to 10K months as a template seller? So between learning to create the templates, creating them, and then setting up the sales strategy, I think a few months, maybe 6 months to a year, to get this built to the point where 10K months could be realistic. Of course, you've got to also build the audience to sell to. That could be done alongside the other bits that we talked about, or you could dedicate just a good few months to a year to doing the audience building. In terms of income, of course, we need to talk about the price of templates, as some of these cost way more than others. People aren't likely to pay $400 for an Instagram image template or maybe a PowerPoint slide template, but they are super likely to buy a $400 website template or legal template. And of course, the higher the template cost, the smaller the audience that you need to have to hit those 10K months. So if you want to hit the 10K months faster, I would definitely recommend choosing to create something higher priced, as it'll probably take years to make 10K months selling $5 printables. Next, online course sales, the gold of the internet that everyone is always talking about. So in order to sell an online course, you're going to want to be an expert at something. Now, you might think, well, Paige, it'll take me literally ages to become an expert at something. But honestly, I think there's probably something that you're already an expert at, which you're not even really realizing. For example, I've moved abroad to many countries as an expat and have managed to get visas to Germany and to the UK and to Switzerland. And having done those things, I was kind of an expert in moving to those places as an expat. Granted, I never actually created a course on the topic. I wasn't that passionate about the topic. But I did start a course on how to be a website designer after I'd successfully run my web design business for a good while. So length of time to learn the thing to teach could very well be nothing, as most course creators teach on something that they're already an expert at. So in terms of length of time to build a course, this can be as long or as short as you want. Some people pre-record the whole course, others deliver the content live, which means no upfront work. The thing which will honestly take the most time is preparing the marketing materials, like the sales page and the sales emails and the posts, and of course, the audience. Audience building will take the most time for this one. The rest is actually the easier and faster bit, in my opinion. So in terms of the skills to do the job, I honestly think an ability to explain topics simply is really key. And the other bit, which I think helps you to be a really successful course creator, is a bit about mindset. When it comes to building a course, you really want to give it all away. Course creators who are hiding the best bits and the information for themselves really aren't successful long term. One of the things that my students always say is how I give away the whole farm inside of my course and just give every possible resource and tool and tip that I can. And to be long-term successful as a course creator, you've got to have your students have success. So adopting the mindset of I want to give it all away to my students is really honestly super important. Now, in terms of how quickly or slowly it'll take to make 10K months, courses tend to range in price from a few $100s to a few $1,000. So depending on your course price, it could take selling 20 $500 courses or 5 $2,000 courses per month to hit the 10K. Now, in order to do that, I think honestly, if you focused your efforts just on audience building for a few months, you could build the audience to make those course sales possible in a good 6 months of concentrated effort. I sold my first course after 1 year of consistent blogging and email list building, and that first launch did make 19K. So 1 year of consistent content creation was enough for me to really make it successful. Now, knowing that these job options are out there is all well and good, but the final trait of those who are successful, it's about starting today and taking action in the direction of your dreams. So if you want to be a web designer, there is luckily something actionable you could do today, and that is to register for the bootcamp. The Profitable and Productive Web Designer Bootcamp event is happening live. Click the link below to register, and I will see you there for 3 incredible days of training on how to get started in your new work from home career as a web designer. And if you do click the registration link and the event has already passed, click subscribe on the channel and I'll keep you posted when I host my next online event.